Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome again to another episode on Talk Architecture Podcast with your host Naziaty Muhammad Yaacob. And we follow again with the series on women architects in leadership roles. And just a teaser today, what's coming up, we have architect Cheryl Quan of OTCQ. And also Cheryl Quan Architect. So what is interesting with the things that Cheryl Quan is going to relate is a kaleidoscope of different things, really looking at education, her time when she first started out as a fresh graduate, and insightful information and ideas on how to negotiate that. And Quan had a particular way of challenges that she had because she had two children consecutively born in a span of 7 years, in which she dedicated mostly to be a mother, and how she needed to come out of that different situation, being a full-time mother and not really doing much on architecture practice. And suddenly she realized that she needing much more networking, much more interaction with the architects community in Malaysia, and her talent in curating helped her to do so with a recent exhibition in June, July, which is called the Malaysian Architecture Week, which I think went very successful, where the strategy of having lectures or some discussions on a Saturday in the morning with different groups of people. Some were emerging architects, some were people who did architecture and did something else later, and the much more experienced architects also came together and discussed things. So I went to one of them, and it was very inspiring to see Cheryl doing all this. A much more academic, a much more intellectual activity that I know that she had in her, because as an ex-student in the design thesis some time ago, I noticed that about Cheryl, that she has a sensitivity to actually feel the situation with the architectural fraternity. And of course, she did it with a team of other people, Architect Bay, and with the guidance of Dr. Tan Lok Man. She did it with other architects similar to her age, the 40 and the 40, which she was involved with earlier. They had a lot of ambition, needing to want to have Malaysian architecture exposed in the Osaka Pavilion or Osaka exhibition, but it was too late. And also approached Pertubuhan Architect Malaysia, PAM, to do so. But eventually they did one for people to come and gather and look around and see what's happening with the architecture world at that time. Cheryl, in our interview with her, also talk about the struggles and the importance of having mentors to help with those struggles. Not necessarily just female architects who helped her, but male architects who were sensitive to a young graduate trying to negotiate the architectural world and practice. She picked up a lot of detailing with these practices because she's really interested with the construction and materials side of thing, it is quite significant that she had a long layoff in sort of like maternity and motherhood and try to come back, because 7 years is kind of a long time. It's not like a couple of years. Comparing that with the previous interviewee that we did with Aisha, Cheryl had a different take and understanding about her architecture practice. Of course, she also picked up works for her part 3 and decided to be in partnership with her husband and doing very well. And quite notably, going towards the sensitivity of designing smaller buildings like houses, and her own house and office is, quite significantly being seen by others and make people be curious about the building in Petaling Jaya. So Cheryl is someone who give a sense of research. She has a sense of academic and scholarly research to certain things that she looked at in her architecture. And she provides some insights into what she had encountered. Beginning when she talked about the meeting that she had with the other consultants and the main contractor, and the skepticism that all were male in that meeting, the skepticism that they had with her being a female architect. I think she's just thrown into the deep end with that sort of meeting. But a lot of other meetings, there were introduction to these groups of consultant and contractors, but that was kind of significant for her to relate to us in this interview with Talk Architecture. So what I gathered from Cheryl's interview is the sense of desire to right the wrong in a way, having to be not only concentrating on practice, but also thinking about the wider community and giving her own perspective on how women architects cope and being in the leadership roles. It's not necessarily being just strictly in a typical corporate job or in a typical big company. It is also making decisions on how to contribute in different ways. And that is something that we can inspire from, something that is an example different from what Aisha was giving in her interview. You will also be interested that Cheryl was with BEP and did her part 3 there. And the next interviewee we're going to have is architect Almas, who was also in BEP. And I get very good reviews about BEP as being nurturing and being sympathetic to its staff, and especially those who want to do their part 3 there. Not only with these who are being interviewed, but also with others who are in that company. And the mentioning of a particular name, one of the directors, is always often being mentioned as well. And it is a good place to start out from a fresh graduate. You want to find a established company that would allow you to go and study about how to be an architect in a more calm way. So thank you very much for listening to this teaser, and I hope you will enjoy the next interview session. We have conversation with architect Cheryl Quan coming up very soon. Thank you.